everybody, Chris Stokes from Custom Fitness Personal Training Studio. How much happier would you be without a bathroom scale? Like, could you measure the amount of joy that you would feel in the mornings if you didn't feel tied to that number all day long? So many people begin their weight loss journey and their body transformation journey by looking at the scale. And while that can be one very important piece of the puzzle, it's still just a piece of that whole puzzle. If you don't look at the big picture overall, you start to feel, anger, frustration, along with some other not so happy emotions. So let's think about it. You go out to eat with your friends one night and have a few drinks, have your nachos, whatever it may be, and the next morning you get up and you think, wow, I just want to see how much damage I did. And so you step on the scale. Well, we all weigh first thing in the morning, right? No clothes on, any of that kind of stuff. No jewelry, obviously. Definitely want to, make it as light as possible. And first thing in the morning, you're pretty well dehydrated and haven't eaten all day, so you weigh the least amount that you would. We all know that weight fluctuates some throughout the day, and so, in the mornings, typically most people's preferred time. Well, the problem is that you woke up out of bed with this great day. You wake up, you're energetic, you think, man, this is going to be a great day, but let me first see what the damage is. And as you step on that scale, all it does is bring anger, frustration, and a few other sensations to your day that make you less than happy. So why do we do it to ourselves? Well, we're convinced that that number on that scale actually means something about who we are. But really, if you take a moment and you look in the mirror, that's who you are. It's not about that number. You could step on 3 different scales, all made by the same manufacturer, all sitting in the same spot in your house, and they may all weigh 3 different things, 3 different numbers. So case in point, I had a client at one point early on in my career of training that she actually had 7 scales in her house, one for every single room in her house. Now, she lived in a small house. Keep in mind, this was every room. I'm not talking main rooms. In her closets, in the bathroom, in the pantry, in the kitchen, just wherever she went, she wanted to make sure she had a scale there to make sure that she had gone off track. The problem with that is obsession. You become obsessed with what that number is to the point where you start to either put yourself in starvation mode by not eating or dehydrate yourself by not drinking. So let's take that night out, for instance, and kind of look through that for a second. So if you went out for Mexican food the night before, you probably ingested some carbs, some chips, maybe some tortillas, maybe some potatoes, any of that kind of stuff. For every gram of carb that you ingest, you're actually holding on to 3 grams of water until that food is processed. So it's not forever. It's just that over the next 24, sometimes up to 48 hours, depending on how your digestive tract is working, you're holding on to 3 extra grams of water in order for the body to do its work to get that food not only digested but absorbed and sent on its way so that you have use of the nutrition that you actually just took in. Now, fluids are another thing. If you went out and you had a gallon of water, then obviously your body's going to be possibly holding on to some extra water. Now, that one's kind of give or take, especially if you wake up in the morning, so you take your thyroid pill, you drink your water, and then you go and you weigh after that. You've drank some water. There you go. So overnight, we tend to dehydrate because we haven't been filled with fluids. We have not had our water intake, so our cells kind of start to flatten, if you will. Not real scientific, but it's giving you an idea here. So they start to flatten, like drying out of a sponge, right? So a piece of fruit that would start to be dehydrated would start to shrivel up and squish and flatten. So then as you start to rehydrate those cells, they start to plump back out, therefore holding more water, therefore weighing more on the scale, right? Now, let's take that alcohol idea into effect. So you went out, you had a few drinks, everything was fun until you got on that scale the next morning and oh my goodness, the weight was up, right? So alcohol is kind of funny. Scientists know a little bit about how it works, but some of it's still a little bit of a mystery. But alcohol does cause you to retain water. It does cause your blood salts to have issues, and so it causes the body to start to retain water to hold on to it. And that can actually take, depending on who you are, how your body works, and what you've been through in the past, could take up to 36 hours to begin to regulate itself again back into normalcy. So some people, it's within 12 hours, no big deal, but there are extreme cases where it can take up to 36 hours. People who've had surgeries and things like that, you can notice sometimes some swelling around the scarred area for a while. So those are things to consider whenever you're in that great mood and you think, let's see what the damage is, and you decide to hop on the scale. So we want to make sure that you're not just looking at those things. So what would be better? Because we're not ever looking for perfect. We want to find out what would be better. What's the better scenario here? So we wake up in the morning, we think great things. We think, you know what, I want to see what damage I did. Go look in the mirror. Go see what you look like. That's number one, right? You can see what you look like in the mirror, and if you feel like you look great naked, then there you go. You're where you need to be. Next up, grab a tape measure. Take some girth measurements. Maybe do around the waist, around the hips, around the thighs, whatever you need to do. Just make sure that whatever you're doing to measure, that you're keeping an eye on that through time. You're paying attention to it over and over again. So you're kind of graphing the results, if you will, rather than just taking one shot and saying, well, my waist should have been this size, but today it's this size. We can't go on what we used to be or what someone else is. We have to go through a graph style of who we are and where we best feel that we look the way that we want to look. Now, one very important factor here that a lot of people don't consider is body fat percentage. Really, that trumps weight every time, because your body fat percentage is going to be what tells us how healthy you are. If your body fat percentage as a female is over 30%, as a male is over 25%, it drastically increases your risk of heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. We're no longer talking just waistline here. We're no longer talking just what you see in the mirror. We're talking about actual health issues. What does it mean to have a body fat percentage that high? You can look like anything, right? So people who are as big around as my finger can have too high of a body fat percentage and end up with a heightened risk of disease. People who are much larger but filled with muscle can have a lowered risk. So don't ever go by judgment on what people look like. Know that there are certain factors that we can do to find that out. For us at the studio, we have the ability to use calipers. Obviously, we can do mathematical equations, but we love to use our Fit 3D body scanner because it's very accurate. It gives you a real life idea of where you stand health-wise, and that helps us to be able to help you better. So things like that are a great way to be able to measure where you're at. Now, what's the easiest way? Find a pair of clothes that are a little bit snug. Try them on every couple of weeks, see how that's going. If they're not fitting the way that you want to, then you know that it's probably about time to call somebody like us, right? So I did want to let you know today that next week is Bring a Friend Week. I would love for you to come join us. Bring a friend with you. Just give us a heads up. Give us an email over at info@customfitness.biz. Let us know your name and your email, and we'll get you set up on a temporary account where you can come try us out for free all next week. Small group training, unlimited, your choice on when that is, and a free Fit 3D scan. We'd love to do that for you. Now, say that you came to next week and you decided that you really enjoyed it, or maybe you couldn't make it to next week and you still really want to try us out, but you're not sure how to do that yet. We are launching Downsize on June 4th, so we're taking registrations all the way up through the end of this month. We would love to have you as a part of that. We take 20 participants each time for that. Downsize is a 6-week program, and you get nutrition, you get recipes, you get exercise, you get a whole team holding you, giving you support and giving you motivation and helping you to make sure that things are getting done. So we've got lots of great things going on with that. But you might say, well, I'm out of town for vacation during that time. I just don't know that it's the right time for me. Well, we have some options for travel as well, to where you can get some programs on the go. We can work with you on the nutrition on the go and all those kinds of things. We just want to help you to get started, because we know that sometimes that's the hardest part. And this time of year is a great time for people to say, let me push hold. I'll wait until I get to fall. But then by that point, you've wasted 3 more months that you could have made some progress. So if you're interested in making progress, number one, come to our Bring a Friend Week next week. Like I say, bring a friend, or don't if you don't have one. Either way, you can be my friend, doesn't matter. Come on in and try us out, and then talk to us about the Downsize program. You might just be the right fit for that. Hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.